Hey there! Welcome to my channel, Dabara TV. I'm so glad you're here. In this video, we'll discuss the IMDG code. Let's get started. What does the IMDG code mean? As amended, the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, 1974, SOLAS, deals with various aspects of maritime safety. It contains the mandatory provisions governing the carriage of dangerous goods in packaged form in Chapter 7. The carriage of dangerous goods in packaged form shall comply with the relevant provisions of the International Maritime Dangerous Goods, IMDG, Code, which is considered an extension of the provisions of SOLAS Chapter 7. Furthermore, the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, 1973, as modified by the Protocol of 1978 relating to it, MARPOL, contains mandatory provisions in its Annex 3 for the prevention of pollution by harmful substances carried by sea in packaged form, prohibits the carriage of harmful substances in ships except by the provisions of MARPOL Annex 3, which are also extended in the IMDG Code. The IMDG Code was developed as an international code for the maritime transport of dangerous goods in packaged form to enhance and harmonize the safe carriage of hazardous goods and prevent environmental pollution. The code describes the requirements applicable to each substance, material, or article, covering matters such as packing, container traffic, and stowage, with particular reference to segregating incompatible substances. The code was initially adopted in 1965 as a recommendatory instrument. In 2002, at its 17th session, the General Assembly adopted the IMDG Code by Resolution A.716/17 and decided to make it mandatory under the umbrella of the SOLAS Convention from 1st January 2004. However, some parts of the code remain recommendatory. Paragraph 1.1.1.8, Notification of Infringements. Paragraphs 1.3.1.4 to 1.3.1.7, Training. Chapter 1.4, Security Provisions. Except 1.4.1.1, which is mandatory Section 2.1.0 of Chapter 2.1. Class 1, Explosives, Introductory Notes. Section 2.3.3 of Chapter 2.3, Determination of Flashpoint, columns 15 and 17 of the Dangerous Goods List in Chapter 3.2, the Segregation Flowchart and Example in the Annex to Chapter 7.2, Section 5.4.5 of Chapter 5.4, Multimodal Dangerous Goods Form, insofar as the layout of the form is concerned, Chapter 7.8, Special Requirements in the Event of an Incident and Fire Precautions Involving Dangerous Goods. Section 7.9.3, Contact Information for the Central Designated National Competent Authorities. Appendix B. Since its introduction in 1965, the IMDG Code has undergone many changes in appearance and content to keep pace with the industry's ever-changing needs. Amendments that do not affect the principles upon which the code is based may be adopted by the Maritime Safety Committee alone. Thus, IMO can respond to transport developments in a reasonable time. Amendments to the IMDG Code are made, E&T Group, on a 2-year cycle. These mainly originated from two sources: proposals submitted directly to IMO by member governments and amendments required to take account of changes to the United Nations recommendations on the transport of dangerous goods, which sets the basic requirements for all the transport modes. The International Maritime Dangerous Goods, IMDG Code, contains provisions for the safe carriage of dangerous goods by sea with the critical objectives of protecting human life, preventing marine pollution, and facilitating the free movement of hazardous goods. The IMDG Code is produced by the International Maritime Organization, IMO, a specialist United Nations, UN agency, responsible for developing and maintaining regulatory frameworks for sea transport. The Code's provisions are based on recommendations developed by the UN. These are published in the UN Recommendations on the Transport of Dangerous Goods, known as the Model Regulations, because the document provides a framework of rules for the safe transport of dangerous goods by all modes: air, road, rail, and sea, The UN model regulations provide a uniform set of safety procedures covering consignment and transport issues such as classification, identification, packing, marking and labeling, documentation, security, and training. What are the classifications of dangerous goods? For transport purposes, dangerous goods are allocated to one of 9 classes according to the main danger they present. These are as follows. Class 1, explosives. Class 2, gases. Class 3, flammable liquids. Class 4, flammable solids, substances liable to spontaneous combustion, substances which, in contact with water, emit flammable gases. Class 5, oxidizing substances and organic peroxides. Class 6, toxic and infectious substances. Class 7, radioactive material. Class 8, corrosive substances. Class 9, miscellaneous. Dangerous substances and articles, Class 9, and environmentally hazardous substances. Many of the classes are subdivided. For example, toxic substances are allocated to Class 6.1. Infectious substances are assigned to Class 6.2. The IMDG Code's requirements apply to all ships which are subject to the following 2 conventions. International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, 1974. SOLAS 1974. This covers the safety implications of dangerous goods on board ships, and the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, MARPOL, covers the pollution aspects of ships carrying dangerous goods. The IMDG Code amplifies the relevant safety and pollution prevention provisions of these conventions. Most of the requirements in the IMDG Code apply on a mandatory basis, but a few provisions are recommendatory. The IMDG Code is used automatically by the governments of all the states that are members of SOLAS and has a worldwide application in the movement of dangerous goods by sea. While some SOLAS member governments incorporate the requirements of the IMDG Code without amendment into their national legislation, others apply some different and additional, usually more stringent, national requirements. Other international and national modal regulations also exist. For example, in many countries, dangerous goods transported by road are covered under ADR 1. These other modal regulations may recognize all or part of the provisions of the IMDG Code. When shipping hazardous goods, knowing of any further restrictions or requirements that may apply to a particular country or port is essential. Also, competent authorities may authorize, approve, or grant exemptions from specific requirements of the IMDG Code. The IMDG Code comprises 7 parts and is presented in 2 volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Both volumes must be used to obtain all the required information and instructions when dangerous goods are shipped by sea. A supplement also provides additional guidance, mainly focused on the vessel's crew. Volume 1 contains most of the detailed instructions for safely preparing and transporting dangerous goods by sea. Part 1. General provisions, definitions, training, security, and radioactive material transport. Part 2. Classification. Part 4. Packing and tank provisions. Part 5. Consignment procedures. Part 6. Construction and testing of packaging, intermediate bulk containers, IBCs, large packaging, portable tanks, multiple element gas containers, MEGCs, and road tank vehicles. Part 7. Provisions concerning transport operations. Volume 2 contains Part 3. Dangerous Goods List, DGL, Special Provisions and Exceptions, Limited and Accepted Quantities. Appendix A. List of generic and NOS proper shipping names. Appendix B. Glossary of terms. Alphabetical index, an alphabetical index of proper shipping names, synonyms 1 and other names. The IMDG Code. Supplement contains the following sections related to the code. Emergency response procedures for ships. Carrying dangerous goods. Medical first aid guide. Reporting procedures. Safe use of pesticides in ships, in CTUs and cargo holds. International code for the carriage of packaged irradiated nuclear fuel, plutonium, and high-level radioactive wastes on board ships. An appendix of relevant IMO resolutions and circulars. That's it for today. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.